Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The feature race at Aqueduct on Saturday, race number 8 at 1 1/16 on the inner dirt. It's the Grade 3 Withers for 3-year-olds. $250,000 is the purse. It's one of those Kentucky Derby qualifying point races. Let's take a look at this field. El Arib, the number 4, is going to go off heavily favored off buyer speed figures of 91 and 94. You still don't trust El Arib.
I'm not sold on him yet. I will admit it's getting harder to deny his talent with every passing race. I'm still a little skeptical of him. I understand that he's way the horse to beat in here. There are, from any sort of reasonable nuts and bolts handicapping perspective, he's an easy horse to make a case for in here, and he is the horse to beat. I'm not sure how much stock I want to buy in the Jerome, Dan. Wet track, big margin of victory, Tackaful stopped on a dime on the far turn, and this horse just inherited the lead at that point. Maybe it's legit. I want to see him do it again.
That's a very fair point. You could also say I don't want to put that much stock in the 94 buyer at Laurel. It was a 6-furlong race. He got a very comfortable lead against questionable competition. So the jury is still out perhaps as to how far he wants to go and how good he is. Right. But he's going to be forwardly placed once again. I don't see a ton of other speed. There are a few stretch outs that can be quick out of the gate.
That's true. There are a couple of horses stretching out, so maybe they start showing towards the front here. But if they don't, there's a chance this horse just gets loose on the lead.
Chad Brown is the number 2, apart from the crowd, coming off a maiden win over the inner dirt on January the 14th. So this horse is coming back in 3 weeks off a solid enough buyer speed figure of 81. I do like his tactical speed, and we know distance with this pedigree is not going to be a problem. He's moving the right way.
I agree with all that stuff. He had that race on December 2nd was scheduled for turf. They left him in off the dirt. He had a bit of a trip in that race. I mean, he really had some trouble in there, and I thought he ran deceptively well last time. He did run well again, and I like some things about that race. I think it's just worth pointing out that it was another one of those days. I mean, the rail was just iron that day. You had to be on the inside. He got a tremendous ride from Manny Franco, sucking the rail the entire way. Just moved off briefly to get around to stop her. Right back to the inside, and he won from there. Still like the way he finished in that race, though, Dan. There's a chance this horse is pretty good.
Trainer Kieran McLaughlin has 2 entrants in this year's Withers, both of them with positive formulator facts. We'll begin with the horse down towards the rail, the number 1, True Timber, who was no match for El Arib last time out in the Jerome. But Kieran with 3-year-old dirt routers and graded stakes at Aqueduct off a little layoff, 27%, a 219 ROI. Could you make the argument that he wasn't at his best on a wet track? And again, you look at this pedigree. He should love to go long.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, wet track, blowout winner. It was his first route just off a maiden win. There's certainly a chance he could do better. But boy, he better improve in a hurry. He's another horse. I think it's worth pointing out that his win 2 starts back, I mean, really fast, contested pace, totally collapsed at the end, and he just got up at the end.
Kieran's other runner, the number 7, Always a Suspect, might be one of the keys to this race because he's one of those stretch-out sprinters that could push El Arib if El Arib, the favorite, is aggressively handled. Here's the formulator fact for Always a Suspect. Over the past 2 years, 3-year-olds on dirt, stretching out off a little layoff, 38%, a 303 ROI. He just missed in that Lost in the Fog stakes. I really didn't think that was the strongest race in the world, although the 3rd-place runner came back to earn stakes placing at Laurel with a 73 buyer.
Right, that was a bad loss for this horse. I don't see how he's a contender in this race. Maybe you're right in that he plays a role in the outcome because he's part of the pace in this race, but I don't see how he's close to good enough in here.
Todd Pletcher is the 5 bonus points, who was a well-beaten second to El Arib in the Jerome. The race before that, beaten in that sprint stakes at Laurel. I'm not sure where this Maryland-bred class is up.
He's just not fast so far. He's going to have to really find a way to improve. He had a little bit of trouble in the Jerome. I thought he got sort of held up behind horses through the 2nd turn, but I mean, he wasn't winning. What was he going to, get beat 10 instead of 11 and change in that race? I don't know. I don't see how he's good enough either, Dan.
Todd also has the 6 Filet of Soul, a $350,000 Keeneland September yearling purchase, who needed a ship to Parks to graduate, and he did so by this much over a wet track at 1-5. Does it bother you that Todd needed to ship him out to win?
It's not how you want 1-5 shots to win, that's for sure. He worked awful hard to get it done in that race. I'll give him a little credit for getting it done because the horse that he ran down he opened a clear lead in that race, and this horse had to do an awful lot of chasing, and he finally got him at the end. They were an acre clear of the rest of that field. I like Filet of Soul as a horse. I think there's a chance he turns out to be pretty good. I don't know if this is the spot.
I agree, but I think the longer the better. We keep stretching him out. I think he's going to do well as they grind it out at longer distances. You're a little bit of a fan of the 8 Small Bear coming into this race off 2 wins. Now, they were slow wins, one of them against winners at Parks last time out. One of the horses he beat did come back to win. but for a $25,000 tag at Laurel.
This horse is obviously going to have to improve. I just like the way that he has taken steps forward, and maybe the figures don't really reflect that, but this horse has improved since they stretched him out in his last 2 starts. He was convincing when he broke his maiden over a muddy track another day where you wanted to be inside, and he was wide the entire way, won anyway. I liked his win last time too. He was very green, looked like a big work in progress at the beginning. He's getting better. He's going to need to catch some breaks in here, and he's going to need to get a really good trip and maybe have some other horses not run their best, but he can get a piece of this at a big price.
I like the trainer Michael Illman's taking a shot with the 9 square shooter. This horse is 2 for 2, and he beat a solid enough field at Parks last time, outgoing 7. I think that 1 ball, no strikes is okay.
Yeah.
He has a versatile running style. I think Frankie Pennington will have him in a good spot when the field enters the far turn and the real running begins. His buyers are not terrible for a lightly raced 3-year-old, but he's got to do it against better horses.
Yeah, and he's got to stretch out. We'll see if he can handle it. I understand why they certainly want to take a shot with him. He's run pretty well in each of his first 2 starts. This will be tougher.
Let's take a look at our selections for the Grade 3 Withers, this Kentucky Derby prep race. You like J-Boy's Echo, the 10, and J-Boy's Echo, boy, he was in behind horses at Keeneland in that maiden race. He was able to avoid some trouble at the end. I love the way he was just striding out to win by about 6. And in the Delta Jackpot, it was just a weird track, a weird ride.
Yeah, I don't want to hold that race against him too much. I'm not sure what was going on early in that race. Kent was just sort of bearing way out into the track with him. He kept him wide the entire way. There was a point in that race, it looked like he might finish last all through that second turn, but he actually wound up running again at the end. He didn't take a step forward in the Jackpot. I don't want to hold it against him. I loved his maiden win. He got a really good trip overall in that race, but he did get sort of trapped.
That scary moment.
He had to alter course pretty sharply, but once he got clear, I loved the way that he finished it off. He ran really well first time out too after a terrible start. I just think this horse might be okay, Dan, and I'm hoping that he can build off of the maiden win 2 starts back. Forget about the Delta Jackpot. Build off of that one, take a step forward, gets some kind of trip from post 10, and maybe he can beat it. It's not going to be easy to beat Ella Reed. Maybe this horse can.
How much does this outside post bother?
It doesn't bother me that much, but obviously I wish he had a better post than this. But I don't think this is the kind of horse who has to be terribly compromised by it. I'm hoping Elbron doesn't take him all the way back to last. I don't want that. I think he can get a little bit forward in this race and then try and work his way over.
I don't love Ella Reeb as a Derby horse or a Classics contender, but I think he's good enough to win the Withers this year, and I'll key him over the 2 apart from the crowd, and maybe I'd use a little bit of that fillet of soul with a late run at the back of the pack. But I do understand what you're saying about J-Boy's Echo, the number 10. He's got a ton of upside, just needs to work out a trip from his outside post. If you're betting the Aqueduct Saturday card from home, and especially if you're watching DRF Live along with us, we'll be on beginning at 3 o'clock Eastern on Saturday afternoon, live.drf.com. One of the races we'll cover, the Grade 3 Withers at 4:20 Eastern. A $300 sign-up bonus is waiting for new subscribers at drf.com/trifecta. Enjoy race number 8. It's at the Big A. It's the Grade 3 Withers, and it features the heavily favored El Arib.